I am 43 today, so sorry about the sound. I am sorry about being late. I had to eat dinner with my family. So here's the thing. I was going to do a whole like show on the Joker, kind of the fool thing, but I've done that show like 4 times, man. 4. And I think I don't want to do the same show 5 times. And yeah, thank you for the happy birthdays for the people that DM'd me happy birthday. I appreciate it. Turning 43. Actually, if you want to be technically true, I turned 43 2 hours ago. So, yeah. What's up, Nancy? I missed some of y'all's messages. Sometimes I go back for video editing stuff and I see some of the messages y'all put in there. You guys are crazy, man. Thanks, Jenny, for DMing me. Happy birthday. Thanks, Bryce. Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it. So I was going to go into the archetype of the fool, but that's going to go in with the tarot stuff. So, and I've had a few drinks, I don't drink that much, but I've had a few tonight. So it probably is a good idea if we do a flashback. However, this flashback episode that I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to be here with you the whole time, plus DJing the radio thing in the chat room with you. And yeah, it's springtime, so the bugs are out in the shack. But here's the thing. This was one of the best interviews that I think I ever did. And back then, especially, I couldn't believe that I got the interview with the man that's coming on. So, yeah, I had a few drinks. Right. I really don't drink that much. I used to drink all the time until I started bartending, and then that was it. That was enough. Once you hang around alcohol enough, at least for me, it's just like, okay, I'm over it. But it's still, I still drink sometimes. I drink like when I go to the lake. I drink on special occasions. I drink when I go out. So I drink pretty rarely. But yeah, on my birthdays, not a terrible time to have a drink. So, yeah, other than that, I don't really have any news. I got people sending me stuff about the Egyptian pyramids. This whole Egyptian pyramid thing turned into a freaking polar thing, did it not? Like that turned polar super fast. You got people barking and other people going, "Oh, it's not real. It's real." It's like everybody like wants to get divided. I feel like some people just are they're just tapping their feet, right? Just waiting to get divided on a subject because they're bored. Like nobody said that it was 100% real. I said, dig it up. Go dig the damn thing. What's up, Domek? What's up, brother? Go dig the damn things up so we can know for real. I thought it was enticing. The radar thing was enticing. But nobody over here in this camp, I don't think, took it as like ultimate truth or whatever. But even if we did, like why? Why the drama? Are we really that bored that we have to just like find something and stand on ceremony and just wait until the news comes out and then everybody wants to polarize real quick and start going at each other? I don't know. I can't wait till they dig it up though. If they probably won't get to dig it up, but I hope they get to dig it up. So I'm going to be DJing tonight. I got some new tunes, and I'm not going to do a 5th show on the Fool. Okay, you'll just have to wait until we get into the tarot, which is probably going to be one of the last of the Arcana videos on that. A deep study into the Fool, but it is an archetype. Make no mistake about it. The Fool isn't just some card that means, oh, you're being a fool. It's a really massive archetype, but it also stands for some pretty heavy energy too in the Tree of Life and astrologically as well. But then, so there's 2 stories, right? There's the archetype and then there's the kind of tarot story, and then it all kind of blends together. So that's going to be the next 10th or 11th or 12th tarot video. I don't even know where we are on that. I got to do the Libra card, but so I wanted to do this guy tonight. And this guy, Jay Weidner, when I asked him to come on the broadcast, I didn't really think that he was going to say yes, but he did. And it was one of the best conversations I think I had. And I had this conversation I want to say it was 2019 or 2020 or something like that. So sit back, enjoy your Tuesday night flashback. Thank you for the happy birthdays. I'll be in the chat. I will be playing tunes, but pay real close attention to this conversation, because sometimes some of the things that we talk about in the past end up revealing some of the things in the future, but you never know. So here it is. This is Jay Weidner. Let me make sure that you guys actually get by the way, just because we're doing a flashback episode and I'm just hanging out with you guys in the chat doesn't mean that you can't call in. You can definitely call in. You can interrupt this whole broadcast anytime you want. Oh my God, I almost forgot. Best birthday present ever got in my entire life. Let me pull this up for you guys real quick. You're not gonna believe this, but I want to make sure that I say it right. So I know you guys haven't forgot about Gareth. Okay? And I don't have to remind you about Gareth and what's going on with Gareth. Well, I'll say just thought, have you read or talked with Nevin Parr? His work is profound based on his pond. No, but I'm working on getting guests back on the show. So tomorrow, Juan's going to be on. Thursday, J.M. DeBoard's going to be on. And then I'm going to try to get guests back on the show. So, all right. So Gareth, I said, he sent me a happy birthday. He says, happy birthday, mate. I hope you have a fun and wonderful day. I said, thanks, brother. How are you? How you been holding up? And this is what he said. Now, remember the last time we talked about Gareth, right? He said, you would not believe it. I am now able to move 3 fingers. I'm improving. My neurologist is dumbfounded. His doctors have no idea why the hell this is happening. I forgot to say before that you and your community have played a massive role in that. It was you who shared Joe Dispenza's meditations with me. It was on your show that I first heard of William Buellman. And because of that, I've been doing the Monroe Institute meditations as well as Dispenza's. Without that, I would probably be dead now. You should tell everyone how you've helped a dying man to possibly heal. Remarkable. I hope you're having a great day, brother. Yeah. Right? Huh? You remember last time when we talked about it, he was talking to his neurologist and then he got some blood work done. They said it could be Lyme disease or whatever, and he could move one finger. And they were saying, you know, what usually happens with ALS patients is you plateau. You plateau and you get and you get worse or whatever. So when he was able to move one finger, they were tripping out. Now he's moving 3. And he's doing these meditations, right? Like one after the other. He's focusing on healing. Now, we're not, in my wisdom, I could say, I'll say this, and I'll only say this once, okay? Never count your chickens before they hatch. However, the shell is starting to crack. And I think that has a lot to do with you guys' love and all of your focus that you've sent Gareth. The man's been listening to Lighting the Void and other podcasts too, and he's been, paralyzed for years, and now he's starting to move again. From here, right? Yeah, that's right, buddy. We all love you. And if I know you're listening, so we'll keep it up, man. And then he sent me this article. I also read this today. A brain to voice neuroprosthesis restores naturalistic speech. There is an AI-based model streams the intelligible speech from the brain in real time. So making a breakthrough in the field of brain-computer interfaces, or what's known as brain-computer interfaces, which is known as BCIs, a team of researchers from UC Berkeley and UC San Francisco has unlocked a way to restore naturalistic speech for people with severe paralysis. So he's thinking he might be able to speak again with this, okay? This work solves the long-standing challenge of latency in speech neuroprosthesis. Is that how you say that? Prosthesis? The time lag between a subject attempts to speak and when sound is produced. So I don't even know. It just shows a picture of like, can you guys see that? Probably not. It just shows a picture of someone hooking up to the back of this guy's head and fixing their speech thing. So he's kind of excited about this. And this is what I meant when I said not all technology like is bad, okay? It has its bad things. You know, it's going to take over the world. They're going to hook us up to all computers. I get it. But for guys like Gareth, something like this is a godsend. Think about that. Like it's all relative, right? Just like that song says. And I don't know much about it. I need to read more about it. But it decodes neural data into speech. So when they think of something and try to speak, because of that lag, because they're paralyzed, it's hard, they can't speak. So they have to do other things or have people speak for them. Like he always has his assistant or his caretaker message me, you know. But if this works, he might be able to talk in real time like us. But the big news is he's moving more parts of his body. And his neurologist is literally dumbfounded. And if you know any neurologists, to have one of those guys be dumbfounded is pretty incredible, right? He is a fighter. We love you, man. True Void Walker, and definitely my hero and the best birthday present I got all day. I got a card from Mary too, but that was awesome. Because I hadn't heard from him in a minute. You know, I thought, well, what's going on? And, you know, he got back to me. He's just been focusing on meditating and healing and fighting. And he's doing everything that we talk about. He's listening to the Dispenza meditations. He's listening to Robert Monroe's meditations. He's tapping into his subconscious. He's trying to reprogram himself to heal, and it's working. Not to mention all of like the love and focus that we've sent him too is working. So, yeah, man, keep hacking the matrix. So here we go. I'm gonna be in the chat with you. If you want to call in, you can. You can leave a message. You can text. It's 501-777-5631. Again, tomorrow night we're going to go on the air early at 7. Juan Ayala is going to be on from the One-on-One podcast. So I am going to come on early because that's super late for him. And then Thursday we'll have JM DeBoard on. So here is Jay Weidner. This is old school, so y'all don't laugh at my accent.
So Jay Weidner's here with us, and if you don't know who that is, Jay has been called by Wired magazine an authority on the Hermetic and alchemical traditions. He is a renowned filmmaker, author, and scholar, considered to be a modern-day Indiana Jones for his ongoing worldwide quest to find clues to mankind's spiritual destiny via ancient societies and artifacts. Now, his body of work offers great insight into the circumstances that have led to the current global crisis. He's also a writer and director of the feature film The Last Avatar, director of the critically acclaimed documentary Infinity, The Ultimate Trip, Journey Beyond Death, and writer-director of the documentary series on the work of Stanley Kubrick's Odyssey and Beyond the Infinite. Now, he was featured in the History Channel's documentary, The Lost Book of Nostradamus, and was an associate producer and featured in the History Channel's special Nostradamus 2012. He was also featured in the documentary Room 237 and Brad Meltzer's Decoded and in Jesse Ventura's Conspiracy Theory on True TV. He's the co-author of The Mysteries of the Great Cross of Hindi, Alchemy, and the End of Time, published by Destiny Books, and A Monument to the End of Time, when that's with Vincent Bridges. And back in 1991, Jay joined KCMU Public Radio in Seattle, and he hosted a 6-hour weekly interview program. Wow, that's a long show. Mind Over Matters, and was also the public affairs director in 1996, and he became one of the first employees of a startup company called Gaiam, for which he was the video production development director until he departed in 2000. And in 2000, he founded Sacred Mysteries together with his wife, Sharon Rose, and he has directed 15 films in the current Sacred Mysteries DVD collection, including The Last Avatar, Infinity, Secrets of Alchemy, Art Mind, Healing the Luminous Body, Quantum Astrology, Sophia Returning, and more. And ever since 2012, he developed and produced original content for Gaia TV, which we all know, the online alternative television network, for which he develops and produces cutting-edge programs and series such as Cosmic Disclosure and The Wisdom Teaching, starring David Wilcock. Deep Space, a series about the secret space program, Beyond Belief with George Norrie, Open Minds with Regina Meredith, Hidden Origins with Michael Tellinger, Hollywood Decoded, and many more. Now you can go check out the website at gaia.com/Weidner, or go to his website at jweidner.com. Jay, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's a real honor having you here.
Well, thank you.
I don't know where to start.
Listening to your description of me, it makes me kind of tired.
Yeah, it's a big, well, that's not even all your work either. So I feel like I try to shorten up introductions, but you've got so much stuff out there that's important, man. I feel like, well, if I shorten it up, it's not going to get it all in. Some of this stuff has just been so big. It has been, let's be honest, right? It's been really big for our community, for the truth-seeking community, for the conspiracy community, for everybody. So we all kind of owe you a lot, actually, regardless of what's happened, with any type of drama, behind the scenes stuff. You've actually helped us in a lot of ways. And I think it's time that we kind of all see that, and I've been a big secret fan of yours for a while, because you tell it like it is, and you're not really worried about what people think, you just want the truth.
Yep. Exactly right.
And I think what I'd like to talk to you about, with all of the stuff that you've studied and produced and talked to about, alchemy is something that we've brought up on this show so much, because I truly believe that alchemy is like the greatest mystery of everything right now. And I've asked everybody that's come on the show about this, because some people say, well, it's Carl Jung's psychological transformation, or it's, physical elements and stuff with Bunsen burners in a lab. But I've had a few people, even heads of secret societies, that have told me, no, there's the secret Hermetic tradition that's been handed down since the beginning of time. And it's all about energetic transmutation of the soul, where we can actually travel through the stars. And for some reason that rings true, but I'd like to ask you your opinions on the matter, because, well, hell, you've studied it quite a bit.
Well, I think that, in some ways, all of the above is true, because we're all talking about the same thing. But I think what we really have to understand is that we're living in a universe where everything has a double. You have your body, but you also have what you could call your astral body, or what I prefer to call your plasma body. And alchemists and occultists know that the sun has an invisible sun, a black sun or dark sun. And so our sun is a dual being, and everything has a foothold in the physical world, and then a foothold in this parallel world. And in this parallel world, which is mostly made up of invisible light, we are able to, if you know how to have the discipline, you're able to tap into that world, and you can either, go into that world and explore it, as Emanuel Swedenborg and many astral travelers have done in the past. And basically that's letting your plasma or astral body leave the physical, still attached to the physical by a plasma cord, and then you're able to enter into the realms that surround the earth. The alchemists teach that there's 7 outer realms around the earth, each one different from the other. So if you go outwards into this parallel universe that surrounds us, that sticks with us all the time, then, the lower realms and then the upper realms, and they're different. Some have fantastical cities and castles, and everything is made of light and plasma. Some have creatures that exist in these realms. Some have higher souls, and some of these realms are where you work out your religious principles that you learned on Earth, and probably in the end find out that most of the things that you thought you believed were wrong. And then there's the alchemists that go inward. They don't go upwards and outwards with their astral body, although they can do that. But what they're more interested in doing is taking the energies from this astral ethereal plasma plane and transducing it down into the physical. And so they build edifices, or you can do lab work and actually achieve this, although it's very difficult. You can do exercises like the alchemists in China, the Taoist masters did, or you can do other things which are equally capable of this download. And one of the things that we found is that the this double world, this double Earth that we live in, it has creatures, and it has intelligent, sentient beings in it, and frequently they cross through the barriers to communicate with us and to talk to us, and sometimes they cross through the barriers to scare the daylights out of us. And so what the alchemists do is they have recognized that the this other world, this parallel world, is made up of essentially electromagnetic plasma, and so they realized that that gold was the key to attracting in these forces, because gold is a superconductor. You can use it to pull the energy out of this parallel universe that exists all around us.
Oh, wow.
And so the Philosopher's Stone is a vehicle to which you can gather up these forces. And if you gather up enough of these etheric astral plasma forces, and you find a way to consume them safely, you'll get an extremely longer lifetime. And you don't really getting a longer lifetime because you want to live a long time and, I don't know, have sex and take drugs and get rich and all that. That's not the point. The point is that our lifespans are prematurely shortened for some reason. I don't know why. I can guess. And so we don't have enough time here to actually figure out the game. And the game is that you cannot rise to the next spiritual plane until you've figured out this world and everything about it. The Hindus teach this, the Taoists teach this, the ancient Egyptians taught this, and the alchemists teach this. And so to have enough time to actually understand the game that's being played here on this earthly plane, you need a long time. You need 120, 150 years, because it's so complicated. And so that is the reason why they want to have an extended lifespan. Gotcha. And what you do is, by trying to achieve this extended lifespan, you become familiar with these parallel forces that exist right by us and around us at all times. And of course, the parallel intelligences and the parallel powers and all of that. So wow. What you have is a civilization like Egypt, which built edifices that could actually transmute this ethereal plasma power into something tangible. And of course, the cathedrals in Europe and some of the more you might call Tartarian architecture uses these spires and towers, and they're purposeful. They're there to draw down this energy, which we don't pay attention to anymore at our great peril.
Wow, man. Thank you for saying that. All that. I swear on everything, Jay, that is probably the biggest answer that I've ever gotten when it comes to alchemy. I mean, most people, they dance around the subject when I ask them about it, and I've studied quite a bit about it myself. I've talked to Rosicrucians, like I've been a member of a Rosicrucian society. They're the only ones that have ever really talked to me, or people from the Hermetic Society have talked to me about this, and they get in spats, right? They get in arguments about, what's the Philosopher's Stone, what it is and what it's not, if it's physical or if it's metaphorical. No one has ever given me a detailed presentation like that about alchemy. That is incredible, man. And I mean, how did you figure all this stuff out through the span of your research, or was it through actually talking to as many people as you've talked to in this field? Which one helped you the most, do you think?
Well, I've been a very fortunate person. I had a very rich guy when I was young who had the most amazing and astonishing library I've ever seen in my life. And he let me come to his house and read the books. I couldn't take them home with me, but I got to make notes and everything at his house. I think he just enjoyed the company of someone who thought a lot like him and who was younger. And so I was very, pleased with that. And also, honestly, spending over 7 years at Gaia and being able to choose any guests that I wanted for the various shows I was producing. I produced probably 13 or 1400 hours of programming at Gaia. I was the sole producer of all the programming from 2012 to 2016, when mercifully they hired another producer to help me. And so I was basically working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. But the good thing was that I had the ability, because it was a freewheeling situation, I had the ability to like literally invite anybody that I wanted to be on the shows. And so I would invite like any people that I wanted to find things about, and then I would, drain their brain after the shooting of the show. I take them out to dinner or out to coffee or whatever, and then just drain their brain. And so what I got was like, after all the research and everything that I've done the previous 30 years, I got like a 7-year cap off of, these incredible interactions with some of the more cutting edge people. And then slowly, I developed the idea so let's just take the Milky Way galaxy, or any galaxy, because I guess they're finding this everywhere all over the universe. But if you look at a galaxy and you see it's like a pinwheel, and it's spinning, and you would think with the laws of physics that the outside ring would be moving much faster than the inside ring, because it has a farther distance to go to keep up with the stars. But that's actually not the case. The outside stars are moving exactly in sync with the inside stars. And so what that tells me is that the Milky Way is a single organism. And this single organism is millions of stars, but they're connected by something. And what are they connected by? Well, scientists will tell you that they're connected by some bizarre idea that they call dark matter, which is invisible matter. They're literally claiming that there's invisible matter which connects everything together. Well, that's astonishing, because that's exactly what alchemists have been saying for thousands of years.
Right.
And this dark matter, if you want to call it that, I just call it plasma, because that's 99% of the universe is plasma. All the stars that you see in the sky at night are all plasma. Our sun is plasma. Your plasma. Your blood is plasma. When you do deep Hubble Space Telescope does deep shots of deep space, they see these filaments. Birkeland filaments are called, floating around in space, and you can go and take pictures of blood plasma, and it looks just like the filaments that are in space. And that's because the universe is actually alive. And it has plasma, which is the force that keeps it alive, just like you have plasma, which is the force that keeps you alive. Your etheric double body is made of electromagnetic fluctuations, which depending on their strength, determines your health. So if you have good conductivity, which is what yoga is about, and Tai Chi, and all these other exercise forms, then your electromagnetic form, your etheric body flows easily through you, and you're healthy. But when you go into dis-ease and you're nervous and you're worried and things like that, you cause the conductivity to become shortened and blocked, and then this causes you to get sick. And so alchemy is really about keeping that flow going as thoroughly as possible. And you can do that through many things. Yes, you can do lab work. It does work. It's terribly torturous to do. I don't know why anyone would do it, but you can infuse the substances you're working with this life energy, and then consume them and get this what you would call chi or whatever back into your system. Or you can use meditation or exercises, or the real alchemy, which is a kind of meditation and understanding. So I call it comprehension. And so once you understand that you're living side by side this parallel universe that's right there in the same room with you right now as we speak, then you can learn how to communicate with that, and then later learn how to tap off of it. You know, you were playing my old friend Terence McKenna in your intro there, and Terence, knew that psychedelics put you in connection with this plasma universe. When you're hallucinating on DMT or mushrooms, you're actually looking into that parallel universe that surrounds you, and it's made of light. That's what those hallucinations are. They're light, and it's plasma. And same thing with dreams. And dreams are very much like hallucinations that you see in psychedelics. And so the dream world is also this astral plane that you've been gifted, and you need to pay attention to dreams, because they're very important. They're talking to you from the other side.
Yeah, it's like the most important thing that we can do for our spiritual development, right? I mean, keeper's dream journal, understand what's really going on. You brought up Terence McKenna. What fascinated me about him is that here we have this man he's hyper intelligent. He's hyper intelligent, and yet he's pointing at the pineal gland, or what goes on in that process, and saying, this is the ultimate secret. This is the key to the universe. This is everything. And I don't think it shook up enough feathers, right? I think it did, but just not enough, right? And I think is that kind of why you really got into doing what you wanted to do too, with production and putting this stuff out there? Because kind of like what I'm doing, like you really feel like, hey, this is what we need to be paying attention to. We need to get focused on this, right?
Yeah, I was a filmmaker my whole life, and I had my big revelation in 1986 about all of this, and went full tilt crazy into it. But I'd already acquired all those filmmaking skills from years before. And so in the late 80s, I decided that I wanted to tell this story using, film and video. The time it was film, we really didn't have video too much at the time. And so that's what I did. And all my filmmaking friends said, you're crazy, you're a good screenwriter, stay in fiction and all of that. But there was something dirty about making films. It felt like it was just propaganda. And then I thought to myself, well, if it's just propaganda, then maybe I can, propagandize the opposite instead of propagandizing the negative and the violent and the dark, that I could propagandize the other side and see if that worked. And if it did work, then I could maybe affect change in some way, at least on a personal level. People would realize that they actually are very special. The human race is very special. We've been given amazing gifts, and we're just not doing our job. We're just freaking out over media-induced fantasies, and we're believing in narcissistic kind of things, and nothing's getting us anywhere. And so I thought I would try to do whatever I could in my power to, change that.
Fantastic. And that you did do and still doing. And we're going to talk about that some more with our guest tonight, Jay Weidner. I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. Little break coming up. Stay with us.
This is Corbin, son of the one and only Joe Roop, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on The Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is V, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Roop in the show, and heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new Art Bell. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, a.k.a. the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Roop.
Stood on the banks of the Arkansas. Her hair was brown and her eyes were green. She's the prettiest little girl ever I'd seen. Stood on the banks of the Arkansas. Her eyes were wild and her stare was mean. She's the prettiest damn girl ever I'd seen.
It's as simple as something that nobody knows it. Her eyes are as big as her bubbly toes. On the feet of a queen of the hearts of the cards, and her feet are all covered with tar balls and scars. It's a common as something that nobody knows it. Her beauty will follow wherever she goes. Up the hill in the back of her house in the wood. She loved me forever, I know she could.
You're listening to Lighting the Void. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335. If you would like to text, you can text in at 501-777-5631.
Jay Weidner's our guest tonight. Right off the bat, we jumped right into alchemy. And if you missed it, and you're going to have to catch it on the podcast replay, because we got the biggest, or at least I would say I got the biggest answer for what alchemy is on the show after we had close to 430 episodes. It was so detailed. So we're going to keep talking about this a little bit more with Jay. And you can call in. I would kind of hold off because there's some important information coming up here, but that call-in number after the second hour is 1-800-588-0335. Save it to your phone. Jay, I was talking to you during break about this, about how I had friends that were talking to me about alchemy, and they were, I guess you could say, high up magicians in their orders or whatever, really intelligent people, and yet bad things would happen to them. One of them passed away. Another one got hospitalized, and I just got so afraid of studying the subject or looking into it. And after David told me that it was dangerous and that we needed to prepare our energetic bodies before we ever tried any of this stuff, I shied away from it, actually, but I was so intrigued by what it actually was. And now that you've answered that question in such a big way, do you believe that alchemy is truly dangerous?
No, I believe that practicing magic is dangerous.
Okay.
I don't practice magic. I could, I guess, if I wanted to, but I choose not to. When I say practicing magic, what I mean by that is, are you familiar with the work of Barbara Brennan?
Not Barbara Brennan, no, but I know quite a bit about magic, for sure.
Okay, so Barbara Brennan is a wonderful person who, I think she's a doctor, and she's written books about the energetic body, and she has drawings of what the energetic body looks like, how you can protect yourself from attacks from other energetic bodies, and how you can heal your energetic body. And she's a really a person who can see deep into these parallel worlds, and I like her because what she teaches is that what magic is an attempt to manipulate other people's energetic bodies, and so in a way it's just not right. It's a form that will backfire on you, and you don't want to do that. So I don't practice magic. I don't try to manipulate people. I could, to be honest with you.
Sure.
I've tested the situation, and I see that I'm actually a pretty good manipulator, but I choose not to do that because I don't want it to backfire on me. Because what I'm trying to do is figure out this reality so that I can move into the next plane of existence, and I would like to. Live as long as it takes to figure all of that out. I've done a pretty good job in a short period of time, but I'm not there yet. I know that there's people that walk among us that are in their hundreds of years old. I've met them, and they are all on that same path. They don't practice magic. They don't try to manipulate people. They're pretty much loners. And they're only here for that one purpose, which is to figure out everything and then get out of here. And so what we have what we have around this planet. This planet's a very special place, and so the reason that monasteries and temples are built up and high in the mountains is because the higher up you go from the surface of the earth, the deeper you get into these spheres that are like onion rings, and they go all the way from here to almost to where the orbit of the moon is, and they're invisible, and they're filled with all of these different realities. And when you die, if you're a decent person, you'll have when you die, one of three things happens. One, you stay here as a ghost, haunting the landscape, lost forever. Two, you go up into one of the seven heavens that are above us, which each has a different realm and different attributes. And then, or you screw up and you go into one of the seven hells, which are below the surface of the earth. What's interesting is that they've done deep mines that go down over a mile. And they've dropped microphones down into these holes that they've dug. And you can actually hear, you can hear this on the internet, you can actually hear what sounds like people screaming in these holes. These mics pick up these weird sounds, and it sounds like hundreds and thousands of people moaning and screaming.
Yeah, didn't Art Bell, he put that on the air one day, right?
He did. He did. Exactly where I found out about it. And got me very interested in this whole thing. And so the ancient alchemists believed that you literally descended into the earth, which is molten fire, to be honest with you, right below us. Not that far below us is a very hot realm. And you got trapped. And you weren't trapped there forever. You were trapped there, though, for a period of existence. Your plasma astral body is trapped in these lower realms, and you literally have to realize what you did wrong and be sorry for it, and then you will rise out of those realms to surface again to relive. And also the same thing happens in the heavens above us. We go into these upper realms, the Shambhalas and all of that, and we're there, and we kind of explore what we did here on the surface and see what we did right and what we did wrong. And sometimes we return to right things again, and sometimes we don't. And the alchemists don't want to come back here. They want to continue on and up into these other interdimensional realms, because that's, you know, each realm above us is like twice as complicated as the realm below it. And so however complicated life is here on this surface of the earth, the realms above us, it's even like light years more complicated and more interesting and more creative and more compassionate. And so, you know, we're all going to face that moment when we, you know, take leave of this mortal coil. And what I'm trying to tell you is that you are judged by what you do here, not by an avenging God so much as by that is the rules of the game. Your astral body is weighted. The Egyptians believed that when you died, your astral body, your plasma body was weighed. And if it weighed more than a feather, you went down into Hades. And if it was lighter than a feather, you went up into these realms. It was called your Akh. The Egyptians had, your soul was divided into three different realms. You had your Akh and your Ka and your Ba. And the Akh is a bird which flies up into heaven. Your Ka is the spirit that stays here on the surface, and the Ba is your eternal spirit, which returns back into the eternal. And so that is what you want to achieve in this life, is to not lie, not cheat, not steal, not manipulate. I know it sounds like, you know, some kind of goody boy kind of scenario, but these things are very real. And if you, I don't know, if you attach yourself to the material world overly too much, then when you die, you're going to have to, you know, make up for that in some way. Everything is karma. And so when you lie and you do terrible things, you know, you have a terrible fate waiting for you. And this whole idea that there is no such thing as heaven and hell, and there is no good and bad, and all these things, that's just not right at all. And there's no spiritual tradition which teaches that. And I have no idea where these crazy ideas have come from, but I can see that these ideas have permeated our culture. And as they permeate our culture gets worse and worse and worse until everybody's lying and everybody's stealing. And I'm just saying that there's consequences to all of your actions. And if you think there's not, then I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, it's kind of like the axiom, right? A cause and effect. I mean, you don't even have to look at it at a moral level. I don't think you can, but you could say, if I do this, if I do A, B is going to happen. In other words, if I lie, then bad things are going to happen, you know? And I think that's kind of what the masters were trying to tell us, like Jesus and so forth. Like, you know, if you do this, it's going to happen to you. Not because there's some mean, angry person up there that wants to do that to you. That's just the way it is, right?
That's the laws. That's right. That's the laws of this place. That's how it works. And you're building up, as you age, you build up, your astral body gets built up with more and more weight. And you have to actively seek to get rid of that weight. And that's, you know, it's not an easy thing, but you can do it. And, you know, so I would highly recommend that, you know, people, if you screwed somebody over, you may want to call that person up and say, hey, you know, I didn't really mean to do that. And I'm sorry I did that 20 years ago or whatever. I know it sounds silly and weird to some people, but, you know, I'm more concerned with, you know, where you're going to be in the long run than where you're going to be in the short run. And petty criminals and things, you know, hurting people, robbing people and stuff, that's not going to get you very far. But the same thing's true with businessmen who screw people over too. You know, you think that it's just business. Well, it's not. It's a lot more than just business.
Well, I want to talk about that real quick, and then we'll jump back into alchemy. I've kind of started to feel this as a station owner too. I'm starting to notice certain things that aren't really lining up with my vision of what I wanted this to be. So you get into a lot of, let's just say, political stuff, where people are more worried about their image instead of the message, and that happens. But then things get kind of thrown out of proportion, where the people are adding to stories and even making stuff up, and you're like, man, now we're going backwards. And I've experienced this myself. But in these industries, and I'm on a lower level than what you've been involved in, obviously, but how do you stay true to who you are and still yet get the message out to millions? Is it that hard to do, really, in your experience, based on all the evils that are up there?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. You know, you have to have a certain kind of stubbornness, and I'm a Taurus, so I'm stubborn by nature. So you have to have a certain kind of stubbornness about it, you know. And even then, you know, you still screw up. I mean, I did plenty of screw ups at Guy that I regret. There's no doubt about it. I didn't see it coming, but, you know, I didn't realize that somebody could actually, you know, outright lie to me like they did and things like that. So I wasn't expecting it, I guess, because, you know, you tend to see the world, you tend to think that people are like you. Right. And so I would never like go out of my way to create some kind of super fantasy to make a whole bunch of money. So unless I told people it was a fantasy, which I did when I was a screenwriter. So I never thought anyone would ever do anything like that. So I have my own, you know, problems with, you know, I guess a kind of naivete that I think everybody else is trying to, you know, do the right thing in this world too. And then I'm constantly disappointed that there really aren't. I feel the same thing about, you know, the political situation right now. It seems like everybody's believing whatever media they're watching.
Right.
And I feel like it's all lies and wrong, and they're all arguing about lies. And it's like, why are you even bothering? There's so many more important things to be doing than to be screaming and yelling at each other. And I won't do it. And, you know, I refuse to get down in the dirt with these people. And so I think that I don't want to say it.
You can say what you want on this show.
Evil force has taken over the world, but it's a force of that doesn't believe that there's consequences beyond this life for their actions. And so that, I guess, is what evil is the force that does not believe that there's consequences. And so I guess I can say that evil seems to be afoot in the world. And, you know, the alchemists have always been worried about this because if somebody thought that if a very powerful person thought that a certain man or woman had the ability to create the elixir of life, well, their life was doomed because they would be arrested and then tortured until they gave the secret. And if they knew the secret and they gave it, it wouldn't matter because the king or whoever could not use it anyway, because the secret depends on your own innate ability to do the right thing. In other words, you're not going to get the elixir of life if you're a nasty dude. And it won't work. It'll kill you. And many, many people have died taking the elixir of life because they weren't ready for it. And so it's really a soul cleansing process that you have to do before you do the alchemy. So, you're not really turning lead into gold, although that is a possibility. What you're doing is you're taking the heaviness of the physical world and you're turning it into light, which is what gold represents.
Gotcha. So then it does make sense. Kind of the process that I saw that Rigardi wrote about was going through the elemental grades and learning how to master those things. And it was never about, I guess what you're calling magic, about casting spells on people or anything. It was all about ascending into your higher nature, right? And learning who you were. And then once you got into, past the elements, then you started working with planetary energies. And, they never called it magic, or he didn't. I believe they called it theurgy and thaumaturgy and things like that. But then when I look around, I see a lot of people getting into the grimoire stuff. They want to, and I've talked to Dr. Stephen Skinner about it, and he makes no bones about it, but they want to summon spirits or write sigils and stuff to get what they want, which I think is cool to see it work. I really do. I think it's cool to say, okay, hey, if that works, then we know there's something there, right? But I don't think there's anything more important than discovering who we really are. And just like you, I have met some of these guys that are supposed to be like 78, but they look 26. And I'm like, wow, man, how do you look like that? I only met two, actually. And he said, well, I must be doing my work must be working, and just smiles. And they keep it like this big secret. But I didn't know what you told me earlier was the reason why they're prolonging their life was so that they could finish the work in a certain lifespan. I thought they were just trying to live forever or something.
No. No, but you have to be careful about sigils and casting spells and things, because that's actually you moving your spirit into the physical and trying to change the physical. That's not what you should be doing. What you should be doing is moving your physical body into the astral and into the plasma world, and moving closer towards that. That's the difference between alchemy and magic, I guess. And a lot of magic, a lot of the people that practice magic are, well, I'll just tell you, I know people that are, in my past, I know people that were major drug dealers who used magic.
Yeah.
It was quite amazing, a guy moving $1 million of cocaine a year and then practicing magic after a busy day every day, but they all got busted eventually. And so it didn't work, and it won't work for various reasons in the long run. So it's not a long run game. The long run game is to live a simple, practiced life, and to be kind to people, and to eat good food, and to meditate, and and to try to affect positive changes in the world. the origins of art were to transmit these messages of what I'm trying to say here. And so the Greeks and even Da Vinci and Michelangelo and all the rest of those great artists, they lived by this creed that, great art was meant to transform the human spirit. And so that's what the cathedrals are all about, and the pyramids and all of that. And, we've lost track of that now. And our artists are no longer trying to transmit messages that transmute the human experience. They're just trying to be sensational. And so in every way, we seem to have lost, our understanding of who we are.
Yeah.
And, I don't think we're evolving at all. I don't believe in that at all. I don't think we're evolving. I think in a lot of ways we're de-evolving.
Yeah, so we're being taught that there's this ascension that's going to happen, and we can either ascend or not, and it's happening right now. What are your thoughts on that?
I wish that they would ascend and get out of here so that we can continue on with our work.
Right. Gotcha. Fair enough.
I have no idea where that's coming from. I think it's coming from that Christian idea of the, what's it called? The rapture. And I think that these are, and nothing wrong with Christianity or anything like that. In fact, Christianity teaches many of the same tenets that I'm saying here tonight. But I'm saying that that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy. There's a fantasy that we're all getting a conscious upgrade of some kind. That's a fantasy. We're not getting a conscious upgrade of any kind. You can't just get an upgrade. That's not how it works. You got to work to get an upgrade, and it's hard work. So this is fantasies being put forth by David Wilcock and others, and it's wrong. And it's just wrong. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be an ascension of any kind. What is there to ascend to? If you're going to ascend to these other planes, you can only do that through death. So are they saying there's going to be a great, huge amount of Holocaust death or something? Because that's the only way you can ascend. You can't ascend in your physical body. Your physical body is meant to stay on the surface of the earth. It's your astral plasma body that will ascend, but that's not depending on a conscious upgrade or somebody putting in a new part into your brain or something. That's all dependent on your actions here and now.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that because I agree with you 100%. I'm not here to pick a fight, but I do care about, just like I'm sure Jay does too. I can tell by the way he's talking. I do care about the truth and what the truth of the matter is, because we all should care about each other, and we all should try to find out who we are and what's been hidden from us. And sometimes we got to work for it, like Jay says, and there's nothing wrong with that. We'll be right back with Jay Weidner.
Yeah, my newfound hero in the enemy's ditch, Well, somebody Maybe something was left in the room, and now that it's gone, well, of course we assume somebody else needed something so bad they took everything somebody had. Losing hope is easy when your only friend is gone, and every time you look around, well, it all just seems to change. The mark was left, man, it's never the same. Next time that you shoot, make sure that you aim. Open windows with passing cars, a brand new night with the same old stars. Losing hope is easy when your only friend is gone, and every time you look around, well, it all just seems to change. Of the pie, make a fool of his system, make a fool of his mind, give him bottles of lies, and maybe he'll find his place in heaven, 'cause he might just die. Losing hope is easy when your only friend is gone, and every time you look around, well, it all just seems to change. But hanging on is easy when you've got a friend to call, when nothing's making sense at all. You're not the only one who's afraid of change.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
All right, Jay Weidner's our guest tonight, and if you want to call, you can now. It's 1-800-588-0335 or 501-424-5130, or you can hit us up on the text line or the Fringe FM chat room where all the cool cats hang out. Jay, you were talking about earlier the real, I guess what we could say the real ascension process would be on an individual level for all of us to realize these truths and to start working with our astral and dream bodies. And from my understandings, and if you could maybe talk to me about this too, is that we have these bodies, like you're saying. We've got the lunar body, this is what I was taught, which is our dream, astral, psychic body. And we're supposed to develop that body, and then in turn, once we get to that point, work on what's called the solar body. Does that line up with what you've researched?
Well, there's many, there's many kinds of bodies that we have, but what you want is, what you're really talking about is these layers of realms that are around us. The solar being the highest of the realms. And of course, these 7 realms are associated with the 7 planets of alchemy, which, the sun, the moon, and Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars. And And so you pass through these different realms depending on how advanced you got during this lifetime. And so, you may, if you lived some sort of exemplary life, go all the way up to the solar realm right away. But most cases, most of us have to work our way slowly up to these realms, and you go to these realms when you dream. That's why dreaming and sleeping, especially sleeping, are so important. When you're awake, you live in one dimension of time and three dimensions of space. But when you sleep, you're in one dimension of space and three dimensions of time. And so when you sleep, your astral body is literally not just exploring other realms, but it's repairing things that you have done, things that you may have accidentally done, which have caused ripples in the time-space continuum. And so these have to be healed. And if you don't listen and pay attention to your astral body, pretty soon it atrophies and doesn't really want to do anything with you at all, because you're not paying any attention to it. And so, when you pray or you meditate, that's who you're speaking with, is your astral self. And you're saying, hey, take care of me on this trip I'm about to go on, or make sure my family stays safe, or my wife doesn't get hurt, or whatever. And you're asking your astral body to kind of go out of its way to do things and tasks. And it actually likes doing that and is very thankful and happy that you're asking it. And so, that's one of the things that you can do to really make yourself more complete, is to start a communication pattern with your other bodies. And when they do, they will respond and they will give you help, amazing help. I am proof that that they will go out of their way to help you and create incredible synchronicities and crazy meetups with people that you would have thought you would ever meet. And so, you just have to really pay attention. That world on Earth, that other realm, it's just as real as this realm. It's just as practical as this realm. And your ticket to success in that other realm is doing the right thing in this realm. And that's one of the hard things about this physical body, is that doing the right thing almost always requires some kind of sacrifice. And so you have to kind of, self-sacrifice in a way. And that requires incredible amounts of courage. And nature loves the courageous and breaks down barriers for the courageous. So I think that, it requires courage, and all the myths, like the Arthurian myths and even Star Wars myths and the original Star Wars, not that recent bunch of crap, are about this in a way that is actually viable. And Joseph Campbell helped George Lucas write the first three Star Wars, and he was incredibly adept at understanding these things and what mythos really means, and why this journey through the heart, which is done by courage, and the idea that there's really nothing wrong. You can't. There's no monsters in the road. There's no beast that can slay you, because you're eternal, and your physical body means nothing compared to the power of your eternal body. And that's what's really important, and that's the game. As Jesus said, you don't want to be you can be from this world, but you do not want to be of this world.
Right. Don't want to fall in love with the physical too much, right? Because it's just,
you don't, and you don't, and if you do acquire wealth, then you kind of have to take it with, like, oh wow, that's interesting that I have money, but that doesn't mean anything. And same thing with people. You can fall in love with people, but you realize that in the end, the only thing that you really have is it's going to be you and you alone, and we all die alone. And
Sure, yeah.
so what happens, at that point in your life? When you do a life review, is it going to be good or is it going to be bad? Are you going to cringe the entire time, or are you going to smile and laugh? And these things are important because everybody's going to go through it. And and the idea that you think you're not going to go through it, you're being sold a load of goods, and you're going to pay for it dearly.
Yeah, even Michael Newton talked about that in his book Journey of Souls, that everybody got to see. I mean, they also got to see some of the little things that they didn't recognize that were extremely powerful.
That's right.
We don't understand how powerful these things are. Like, we think that we've got to become a big star, a big baseball, football player, or whatever to make an impression. But in those life reviews that he did, it was when somebody sat next to a homeless person and gave him something to eat, or asked for forgiveness, or just something. And the people that were going through those reviews would actually get to feel what that other person felt when that happened. And they were so monumental, so much bigger than what we think matters as far as in the physical world goes. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I've talked to people who've gone through life reviews. One is was a Vietnam vet, and he said every single person that I killed in Vietnam, I had to go live their family's life and the desolation that I left them by killing their husband or brother. And he said that it was absolutely horrifying. And then he said I'm going to do everything I can to be kind to people for the rest of my life. So when I do have my final life review, I don't have to live the last 30 years of my life like the first 30 years of my life. So I think there is, but there's also good. So somebody does something, that they didn't even think was a good thing. They're just trying to be nice to somebody, but you change that person's entire life. That also. So it's conversely, it has the opposite effect. So, you don't know what good you're doing on a daily basis.
So what is the end game then if we are to go through alchemy, develop these bodies, get off this physical plane? What is the end game? Do we get to travel the stars? Do we get to come back? Are we going to forget ourselves again? What are your beliefs on that?
I believe that what you're doing is that you're ascending through one realm after another, and that as you're gathering knowledge about each realm, and that when you finally get to that last realm and you fully understand essentially the mind of God, then you get to go back to source. And that's the whole point. And what you're doing is that everything that you learn gets pushed up into this plasma realm, that's an invisible realm that surrounds the earth, and which we also call the Akashic record. And so your entire life goes into the Akashic record. And so therefore, the more you know, the more that knowledge goes into the Akashic record, which lifts the souls of everyone. And so by understanding and learning everything about this realm, you actually raise the ability of all the other beings, including the animals, to go to higher realms, which are more peaceful, less violent, less raucous. And by the way, a lot of plasma bodies, astral bodies, want to come here because it is raucous and violent and crazy and sexy and drugs and alcohol and rock and roll and all that. They want that. They want to come here and imbibe in the physical for a little while. Maybe it's a vacation or something. I don't know. But I think that, most of us are reincarnated over and over, and we're those of us who are on the, been here for maybe longer than others, we're all trying to seek the way to go to the next realm, because pretty much I've seen this movie so many times, I really don't need to see it anymore.
Yeah, you get tired of the same old, same old. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. So what was I'm curious then, Jay, what was your first spiritual experience? Was it like mine? I mean, look, I had spiritual experiences growing up, praying in church and watching, I guess, what we called the Holy Spirit move in my life. I don't know if that was from belief or really what that was, but my biggest one was a true out of body experience that I didn't believe in. Did you have something like that really shifted you?
Yeah, I had when I was, the first experience that I could realize was when I was 7 years old. Grew up in a very poor family in the Midwest, and we had a 2-bedroom house, and my mom and dad had just had their 4th kid when I was 7 years old, and that would be my little brother. And what happened is that it was my brother and I were in one room, my parents were in another room, and then my sister was in the closet of my parents' room. But because they had the baby, they had to move the baby into that closet, so they moved my sister into our room. So we had 3 of us now in one little tiny bedroom. And my sister, she's pale skin and red hair and kind of strange looking. And so I think it was the first night that she moved into our bedroom. I don't know, sometime during the night, I woke up and I saw these 3 luminous, I could see through them, beings floating above my sister, doing something to her. I wasn't sure what. And I gasped. I audibly gasped. And one of the beings turned around and looked at me, and it seemed to me it was female. And it floated over to me, and it touched my third eye and paralyzed me. And so I was in the bed, and I could still see them doing whatever it was that they were doing around my sister. And then, and I couldn't move. And then eventually they just kind of went right through the walls and left. And I was like seriously shook up about it, and went and told my parents the next day, and they told me I was just dreaming, of course, and everyone just poo-pooed it and everything. But that made me understand that there was this strange other world going on that I wasn't aware of. And then, that made me kind of hyper aware, I guess, from then on. And so I started seeing things that other people would miss. Lights in the skies and strange creatures floating in the air and things. And I realized that people just don't look up and don't really look around at things. And that because of this experience, it made me so hyper aware that I started looking. And then, of course, I started having my own out of body experiences and lucid dreams, and realizing I'm getting information through these lucid dreams. And then I realized that one day that this whole world is really a dream, and that I could lucid dream within the dream, and this could be tested. So could I create a dream within this dream?
Right.
And I decided that you can. And if you really want to, get what you're really after in life, as long as it isn't materialistic, you can just dream it. And I really mean that. You can just imagine what it is, and it will eventually become physical, and you will get what you want. You got to know what you want, Did you ever see this movie, Bedazzled, with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep.
Yeah.
You better be specific, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be specific. He wanted to be rich, and he ended up a Colombian drug dealer, being chased by the U.S. military, right? And then he wanted to be a big basketball star, but he had a little guy between his legs. And so every time he tried to get what he wanted, he got the opposite. And it was a hilarious movie because that's actually what it's like.
Yeah. See, and that's exactly why when I tell people, when we've talked about the occult and magic and the esoteric, I'm like, look, it's really good to study about all this stuff and learn it. But if you're going to practice this stuff for any other purpose besides trying to find out who you really are, then I would suggest you do it extremely cautiously and slowly, because anytime you're manifesting something back through the physical planes and natural law, it's going to manifest in a way that has to work in natural law. And a lot of times that ain't always the best, especially if you're not specific.
Yeah, that's kind of why I don't do it. I mean,
It's dangerous. I mean, let's be honest.
It is dangerous. It is. I can't tell you how many advanced magicians I've known who died young. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, I could tell you it's in the dozens.
But you're so right about this, because I've experienced that too when it comes to why am I here? And I think we should all ask ourselves, like, why are we here for real? And this plagues people. It causes depression, anxiety. People just don't know why we're here. And I started realizing that, well, what do you want to do? What's fun to you? What do you like to do? And I think it's too hard for us to realize in our minds, because of our programming, that we can't have that, right? We can't do what we want to do, or what really gives us passion and makes us happy and feel loved. I mean, that doesn't pay off, but I can tell from your experience that it does. Like what you're telling me, and based on my experience, is if you follow your truth, then things just kind of start happening for you, don't they?
They do. Goethe, the great German philosopher, said that, when you go out and you do something unusual, and that seems kind of crazy to the people around you, and if you're doing something and it's positive, then, you'll have these unexpected ramifications that you just didn't understand what happened. Right. And I kind of think that that's absolutely right. I would do something like do a documentary, and then through doing the documentary, I would meet somebody, and the next thing I know, they're telling me all these things I didn't know, and then they decide to help fund my next documentary. And so I can look back and tell you that if you do things with the right attitude, good things happen.
How would you say is the best way to deal with the ego? Because in my experience, it does come to play. As you're going along in this, you say, I'll never give in to ego, but eventually it becomes a very big, I guess you could say, temptation.
It's the greatest part. It requires the greatest amount of discipline. So you need the ego to push forward for whatever it is you're doing, but you also have to have that. Pretty much, it's your body double telling you the whole time, you really didn't do this. That,
right?
That there's so many things helping you that you can't claim credit on it. And then, so it is tricky, and you got to be careful, because, you start thinking, oh my God, I'm so amazing. And, and that's when you're going to get in an accident, or you're going to get ill, or you're going to get a divorce, or you're going to lose your job, or whatever. So don't get cocky.
It's not just that thought, but what I've also noticed is that other people will come into your life, and it's almost like whatever is trying to feed your ego will come around through people, even people that you admire, and be like, hey man, you're this and you're that. You don't even know it. You won't accept this praise or that praise. And I'm so afraid of ego, I don't even tempt it. I don't touch it. I'm like, well, I look at everybody as on an equal thing. Like, we all have this capability. So what makes one person greater than the other? All it is just realization, right? That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to understand that you are not the, you are not the be end all of what you have done. You are what you are because of people who have assisted you, and spiritual beings who have assisted you. And if you turn into ego, you're going to have a train wreck. And believe me, I deal with a lot of people in this business.
I was just going to ask you that.
They have egos that are so big, and I tell them, you better watch it, boy. You're going to get it. And and they get it. And the bigger the ego, the bigger the down. That old saying, be nice to the right people on the way up, because you'll meet them on the way down. Well, that is a big truth, believe me. And you better be nice to everybody on your way up, because you will fall and you will meet them on your way down. If you were nasty to them, they're going to kick your ass.
Right. Yeah. See, and I need, God, I'm so glad you're here because you could validate this for me. So what you've done in your life is kind of like something I want to do, but you've done it on a much bigger level. I've done it smaller in radio, but I've still seen this thing with Jay, some of the most talented people, some of the most talented and gifted and wonderful people that have things to really offer and change the world in a big way are some of the most hurt and in a dark place people and cannot see what I see in them. Have you ever experienced that? It's frustrating for me.
Yeah. And, it's weird because, a lot of hypocrisy in these people. They'll say things to you and then you go, oh, well, that's kind of cool, I guess, and then you find out later that what they told you is just total bunk.
Yeah, right.
They'll tell you things like, well, I haven't taken drugs in 20 years. I haven't had a drink in 20 years. And then, a year later after they've told you this, you're talking to somebody, oh yeah, I saw him at the bar. He was drunk as a skunk. Right. And you're like, wait a minute. I thought this guy, it's like over and over these like disappointments about people, come in. That's why I like Terrence McKenna because he didn't crap what you thought about him, and so he could rake you over the coals and take your ego and just shred it. And so it was always amusing to watch him like destroying people who were like seriously egotistical. And of course, he always said that 5 grams of dried mushrooms in the dark will destroy any ego.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But for more, what I'm talking about is like, I've dealt with that too, where people come in and they think they're the next big thing and they've only done, maybe 10 shows at the most. And I'm like, man, this takes time. Let's just get involved with our craft. Let's get creative. Let's get our passion and spirit involved, and let's see what happens. Let's not worry about how big we are or our image or anything. Let's get involved in the art, right? That's what I want to do. But some of the most
that's the key. That's actually the key is to get involved in the art form itself and let that develop, because then your ego doesn't get involved and you're constantly amazed at the surprises that occur when you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some of the most talented people that I've met, and I'm talking about storytellers, people that just have a voice like you've never heard before. They have a past and I guess a programming of that they're not worth much. And it kills me, man. It kills me because I would trade them for any of these so-called big time stars just because they are who they are any day of the week. And I meet people like that constantly. It does bother me a little bit. And that's what I was wondering if you've came across too. People that just can't see their own talent.
Oh, all the time. And it's really frustrating. And what's really weird is sometimes that's ego getting in the way of them.
Really?
Also recognizing who they really are, because they think that they're something else. And they've got this egotistical view about that they're something else. And they don't realize how good they are at this other thing. And so you tell them, no, man, this is what you're good at, not that. And then they go, no, I want to be, the best guitarist on earth. And go, but dude, man, you're so good at singing, right?
Gotcha.
And they just don't listen to you. So it's like nothing you can do about it, and it usually ends in tragedy. And another thing that people need to realize, which is really a sad state of affairs, is that you really don't, I hate to say this, but all of these superstars in music and in film and everything, they didn't get there by talent. They got there for other reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Certainly. I had to ask those questions, I guess, for my own selfish reasons, because I was like, yeah, this guy probably knows what I'm talking about, because I complain about it so much on the network, I guess, or the show. People are tired of it. But we're going to get back to the nitty gritty. We're going to take our news break here. We're with Jay Weidner. I'll get to some of your texting questions as well. You can join the chat room too at thefringe.fm/chat. Stay with us.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast. Need another late night fix? You can tune in every weeknight to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on The Fringe FM.
see you have overcome them, completely silent now with heaven's help. You cast your demons out. And not to pull your halo down around your neck and tug you off your cloud. But I'm more than just a little curious how you're planning to go about making your amends to the dead. To the dead. Recall the deeds as if they're all someone else's atrocious stories. Now you stand reborn before us all. So glad to see you well. And not to pull your halo down around your neck and tug you to the ground. But I'm more than just a little curious how you're planning to go about making your amends to the dead. To the dead. With your halo slipping down, your halo slipping, your halo slipping down. Your halo slipping. Your halo slipping down. Your halo slipping down. Your halo slipping down to choke you now.
shocked, man. Jay Weidner's here with us. Get to talk to the man himself. And as a producer, as an audio producer, it's really cool to talk to somebody that's this deep into metaphysics and spirituality and hermeticism, as well as a producer on this level. So, you know, I do want to say, without blowing too much smoke, Jay, it's really cool to have you on the show for the first time, man. It's an honor.
Yep.
So thank you.
That's been fun.
Here's the thing, though. I want everybody to check out. You're YouTubing it now, right? So you're over at a YouTube channel called Reality Check, which is cool.
Yep.
And for you guys that really like someone to tell you the truth, to get down to the nitty gritty and just tell you how it is. And I'm not saying Jay is the guy that's going to tell you the ultimate truth, but I know why you listen to Lighting the Void. It's because we don't hold anything back for any other reasons than trying to find the truth. And Jay is the exact same way. And man, I hope you keep doing that forever on YouTube, actually. So thank you for doing that as well.
Yeah, well, we'll see. YouTube's changing their rules, and if you can't make YouTube money, then they're going to kick you off the platform starting in a week. So we'll see.
Oh man, I heard about that. Yeah, see, I just got to 5,000 subs, and now they're going to be like, well, now you got to make us money. Isn't that that's a pain in the ass?
I just got to like almost 5,000, and I don't even know if I should put ads on. Will that help me? I don't know. I mean, right now I've been not putting ads on because I don't really need the money. But if YouTube's going to knock me off because I'm not making them money, then, you know, maybe I'll put ads up. I don't want to, but
right.
I don't know. If anybody out there can tell me what to do, I'd really appreciate any advice.
Well, I think what I'm going to do, because I'm thinking of the same thing. What I'm going to do is just put the ad at the beginning right before the show starts, and just hopefully that's all. And maybe they'll be good with that. Maybe
I'll do that. I think that I'm going to do that tomorrow, actually. I'm going to put an ad in front, so maybe YouTube will ignore me because I'm making them money.
Right. Yeah. You got to play to pay, right? That's how it is in this world, unfortunately.
It's true.
So, yeah, I've got so many questions for you, so I want to get this out, too. What are your thoughts on astrology and planetary energies? Is there something truly real to that to you, or is it a little hyped up in your opinion?
No, it's totally real. What is going on is, of course, the planets represent pinpoints within the plasma sphere that surrounds our solar system and then our galaxy, and so their location would have a definite effect on you. Same thing with like colors and lights and anything. Once you realize that you're living in this conjoined universe, which is pasted together with this plasma that you can't see, then of course you realize that everything has an effect on you. And so it becomes vitally important. And so, no, I definitely think astrology is extremely viable. And my last show on Reality Check is with astrologer Robert Phoenix. And so I have him on every once in a while because he's got a firm basis in what astrology really is.
Yeah, right. So I get so tired of hearing how astrology's bunk and it's all made up. And you know what? I challenge anybody that believes that to honestly read it, like interpret a real birth chart for me. Lay it out on the table and interpret that for me, and then tell me if it's bunk afterwards. Because where I get confused is the whole sidereal and tropical thing, but it seems like both of them tend to work. So I know there's some real energy there.
Oh, they work. It absolutely works. It's part of the subtlety of the universe. You're really just mapping the other parallel universe and its effect on you.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on the Kabbalah? Do you think that there's something real to that glyph, that manifested tree that they show with all the different sephira and the spheres and the angelic orders? It does kind of line up a little bit, but I still have my doubts, even though I study it.
I have studied the Kabbalah. I think that it might have some good. It's got so much of a kind of a dirty background,
right?
That I eschew it and don't want anything to do with it. I think it might be a form of dark magic, And so I don't really have anything to do with the Kabbalah, but I'm sure there's something there. But there's also an awful lot of manipulation going on about the Kabbalah and its history and who practices it and everything. So I'd say stay away.
Yeah, because something I found out about the paths between the Sephiroth. They say there's 22 paths on the tree. And then you read a book by Dion Fortune called The Mystical Kabbalah, and she was in the original Golden Dawn, and she said, no, there's 32 paths. The 10 Sephiroth are counted as paths. The magicians purposefully hid that knowledge, just like the tarot, the Rider-Waite tarot. They purposefully hid symbols in some of the interpretations, and it's one of the most widely used tarot decks on purpose. So it's this whole idea of, which has always bothered me, Jay, is you get the knowledge because you earned it, but we can't tell anybody else. I can understand that with alchemy, right? Because there's some dangerous things to it. But with everything else, man, like, let's just get it all out there. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
And you got another, you got a speaking event coming up in Nevada, the Mega UFO Conference as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about ufology and cults. I'm going to be getting into how because of the strange nature of UFOs, cult leaders are able to use it because it's so kind of, no one really understands what UFOs really are, although I think I do. But so that there's been many cults that have risen up through ufology, and I'm lecturing on this as kind of a warning to people that these cults that are rising up are extremely dangerous, and we know from the Heaven's Gate cult that they can kill themselves because they believe they're ascending, and so I want to cast out a warning that this is the new thing in ufology. Is this creation of cults based around personalities, and I just think it's a really, really bad idea.
It is. You are 100% correct with that. It is dangerous because I feel like there's these UFO evangelists out there that they can make up, and this can be any of them. They can make up a story, a narrative, and say, put a few things together. And I think, Jay, because people want to believe so bad in their version of what UFOs and aliens are, is that we step away from the truth and we start getting emotionally involved with it. And these guys, man, they know that stuff. They're marketers. They get what people don't understand, and maybe you can validate this for me, is they get marketing teams, which there's nothing wrong with a marketing team, right? But why are we getting marketing and business teams around narratives to tell you that don't really add up, to sell you stuff? You see, that scares me a little bit. It'd be different if it was a Nike shoe or a beer, but a story, something's wrong with that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually go to the extent that I don't think you should. I don't think that in the spiritual world or in the UFO world, or that you shouldn't be able to make a living out of it. If you're into those fields, then you should be into those fields. But if you go into those fields and then think that you're going to make a living out of it and start charging people tons of money to hear what you have to say and all that, I don't buy that that's really what you should be doing. That's not the point. The point is not. So every time I see a person that's in the UFO world who is actually using it as a job, making their money off. And I'm talking about people like Richard Dolan, who have a publishing company where he makes his money. I'm talking about people who actually make their money through these cults, and whether it's spiritual or UFO cults, and they expect their followers to pay for them when they go to the hospital and give them money for their kids to go to school and all of this. That's the first red flag. You should just immediately cut and run the minute you see somebody trying to make a living off of these kinds of things. That's not how it works. You can make a living talking about these things, like Jimmy Church does or Art Bell did, or you can make movies and documentaries about these things and make money from that, like I have. But I I don't charge for what I have to say. I'm going to be speaking at the UFO conference, and that's going to cost people, but I'm not even getting any money from it. I'm giving my salary away to a charity. And I think that it's super important to realize that if you're making money off of this, then you're probably not real.
Not to mention, let's look at the prices some of these people are charging. Okay. I mean, it gets a little ridiculous. You got to look when you're marketing, you got to look at what's affordable, but they're trying to capture the most money possible. So it's obvious.
It's disturbing. And, they're charging, sometimes up to $1,500 to attend a conference and to hear this person talk, and I think that what I've discovered over the last few years is that it's necessary for us to police our own community.
Right. Who else? No one else is going to do it. They're going to run amok if we don't do it. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And that requires incredible amounts of courage, because these people build cults, and these cult members literally are insane. There's a lot of alienated people, and that's how these cult leaders depend on, is that there's so many people that don't have friends and don't have family, that are all alone looking for something, and then they're providing it. And the new threat is, of course, online cults, which is, they don't even have to meet together in a group. They can just get on Facebook, and it's very dangerous. And of course, the cult leader, and I speak from experience, because one of the cults that I've been uncovering, the cult leader has literally told his followers to go kill me. And I have it on one of my reality checks. You can watch it. It's called the Fear Being Alliance. And literally, I have tweets of the cult leader, telling his followers to go to a conference that I was attending and kill me. And I've been doxxed, which is that my full legal name, my address where I live, my family lives, and my phone number were put on Twitter by 4 sock accounts, and they were up on Twitter for almost 4 hours before I was able to get them down. And these people are serious, and so when you investigate one of these cults, you find out that these people are friggin' fanatics.
Wow. And what's so sad about that is that you have so much to offer. Like, you have so much to offer when it comes to doing this, is producing things so that we can have them. Like I was telling you during the break, I remember when Gaia first came out, man, I was like so stoked about it. I really was. I was like, this is fantastic. That it has to get like that. And hopefully, I think a lot more people are waking up now, but there's still a problem out there for sure. And I'm glad that you have the courage, and we have a few people on this network as well that have the courage, no matter how many people don't like it, to stand up in the face of a crowd. And we're talking about a lot of people that are members of these cults, and say, you know what, this isn't right, and you should take a look at it. I think. Yeah, I
agree.
I think they get so emotionally invested. It's kind of like when you're emotionally invested in religion, Jay, and you realize that something's not right with it, but you've got years and years into it.
That's right. And as our society loses its attachment to mainstream religions, we're seeing other things take that place, and cults are one of the things that's taking that place. Also, there's political movements afoot right now which look more like religions than actual politics. And if you say, the wrong thing to these political movements, they call you a heretic, and you committed a heresy. And of course, I'm the biggest heretic of all. And so I think that we're moving into a place now where religions will not exist, but there's still that religious attitude is still there, and it's not crazy religious attitude. It's not the good religious attitude. It's the religious attitude of my way is the right way, and anyone who disagrees with me is wrong, and they must die, and that kind of thing. And it's scary.
Which is really insane to be in a truth-seeking movement, to be like that, because people, and you could probably attest to this as well, people that are truth seekers, alchemists, Gnostics, are constantly seeking the truth and are very well aware of what they don't know and what they're trying to learn through going through these internal realms, a
process. And it's not, you're never there. So that's the other thing is these cult leaders always claim that they are there, but there is no there. You're always on the move going forward. And so that's how you can tell that this is all bogus, because they're claiming that they've already achieved some kind of enlightenment. And so they're bogus when they say that.
Absolutely. Yep. 100%. And I would like to say it's cool to talk about things theoretically, knowing that they're theoretical. Like earlier you had mentioned, I think I know what these UFOs are. I would kind of like to hear what you think they are, actually. What do you think some of the, especially like the orbs, the ones that come in and tend to disappear and then they're gone again? What do you think those are?
They're plasma beings. They exist in the realms around us, in the invisible realms, and occasionally they manifest themselves into this realm and we see them. And I think most UFOs, are a combination of mistakes, people seeing something that they have mistaken, like an airplane or a planet. I think other things that people see are the machines that are in our secret space program. I think that those are flying around and people see them and they think that they're alien ships. And then I think that there's these plasma beings that exist, and I've seen them, and I know they exist because I've actually seen them, and they've been videoed. They seem to like tornadoes and electric wires, and they like people. They think we're very interesting, and they like to come around us. And a lot of times the orbs that are photographed, they aren't even seen while they're being photographed. It's later when they look at the images in their camera that they see the orbs. So the orbs are around you, but you don't even see them. There's a guy on YouTube, I think he's from New Zealand. He's like maybe 25, and he goes outside on a sunny day and he takes a big, huge mirror and he flashes the mirror up into the sky, reflecting the sunlight into the sky. And then he looks at the camera and he goes, "Just wait, they'll be coming soon." And then sure as hell, about 10 minutes later, these orbs start appearing in the sky above him. And I know a guy who he just is like, a voice in his head tells him to turn his iPhone on to 120 frames a second and film the mountain across the way from him. And he does it for like 5 or 10 minutes. He doesn't see anything, but then he goes and he looks at the footage and he sees all these orbs. And so the orbs are actually communicating to him and telling him to photograph him. So what I think is going on, and Andrew Collins, a great writer and researcher, did a book called Light Quest recently, which is all about this. And I think what's happening is that these plasma beings are electromagnetic in nature, and when you get near them, how do I say this? Okay, so Nikola Tesla got electrocuted once with 3 million volts for like a split second before his assistant was able to turn off the machine. And later he told somebody that he was like in the past, the future, and the present all at the same time. And I think that in that accident, Tesla discovered that high amounts of electricity, or these strong electromagnetic fields, are actual tears in the time-space continuum between this Earth and the other Earth, the parallel world that we're living with simultaneously. And so I think that certain conditions like super pressurized rock, earthquake zones, water places with water, they contain just the right amounts of elements to create these electromagnetic fields, which can then create tears in the time-space continuum. So if you interact with one of these, you may disappear from this realm. And I think that one of my good friends is David Paulides, who wrote the Missing 411 books. And I think that, these 1,600 people have completely disappeared in the national parks. And I think that this is what's going on. They're just hiking, down the path, and they accidentally come into an area that has a high piezoelectric field, and there's orbs and things, and then they literally rip a hole in the time-space continuum, and then they're found, dead 20 miles away, 14,000 feet up on a mountaintop 2 days later, with their shoes off. Why are their shoes off? Because your shoes ground you. And so when you came into this highly electromagnetic field and you got disappeared, the only thing left behind was your shoes, because they're rubber and they can't conduct the electricity. And so I think what we're doing is we're going to discover over the next few years that actually we're living not in a physical universe, but a plasma universe, and that this plasma has many, many, many depths. And it is actually the key to understanding alchemy and the occult and the whole thing.
Yeah, that is, wow. Okay. Well, we're actually at the end of our time with you, Jay, but man, there's many more questions I'd love to ask you. Hopefully one day down the road we can do this again, because it's been a real treat being able to conversate with you here late night. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You guys check out the website, jweidner.com, gaia.com/Weidner. Also the YouTube channel Reality Check. And can you tell us about the conference again one more time, just in case some of our listeners want to go?
Yeah, it's going to be the Super Mega Conference at Laughlin, Nevada, late February. And what the organizers have done is and I guess that's why they invited me, because I usually don't give talks, is that they are sick and tired of the BS, and they want the community to reform itself. And that's what this conference is all about. And that's the whole purpose, is to kind of heal the community from the distraught nature that's been going on for the last 2 years.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Jay, for coming on. And that sounds great. So if any of our listeners are out there in that area, please go to it, check it out, and then tell me how it went. That sounds really cool. Thanks again, Jay, for coming on the program. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you.
We'll be right back with the Reverend Dan Lopez.
All right. That was fun. Got to go back in time to like 2019. It's hard to even. It's really cool to listen to Jay talk, but it's hard to listen to myself talk. But I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Just kind of experiment with stuff because I love radio, But I appreciate all the happy birthdays. Tomorrow night we'll be broadcasting early. I believe that's, I want to say it's going to be 8 Central, 9 p.m. Pacific. But I'll make sure that I post it out on social media, I think that's what it is. Let me look real quick because I don't want to tell you wrong. And then, you get here at the wrong time. So Juan says 7 p.m. Central's 8. So it's 7 p.m. Central. See, I almost told you wrong. 7 p.m. Central tomorrow night. Usually we like to take things into the late night, but Juan's got a family, and I hadn't had Juan on the show in a while. So we're going to meet in the middle. So we'll be on a little bit earlier tomorrow night. And thanks for coming out and hanging out with me on my birthday. I appreciate that. And listening to Jay Weidner. That was so long ago, man. It feels so long ago. 2019, 2020, something like that. And it's cool to see how things have kind of evolved since he spoke about those things. Like I don't really feel like, because back then we had all kinds of people saying they were super soldiers and time travelers and talking about blue chickens, and I think that this was happening. There was lots of like cult kind of things that were happening before the major like censorship stuff started happening. But now it feels like I said, like the truth is kind of seeping through the BS. I'm not saying there's not cult leaders. It just doesn't feel as massive as there was in this community. I feel like we're getting somewhere, actually, believe it or not. So big news, and also big news about Gareth. We love you. Remember, one miracle at a time. The first miracle was Gareth reaching out to the show, right? And we did a lot of broadcast about some of the things that he had read he was afraid of because he has ALS and he's on the verge of passing away, so he was scared. But now he's moved one finger and now 3 fingers. And his neurologists have no idea what's going on. So keep sending him those good vibes. You guys, if you can, if you have Gareth's contact info, reach out to him. He loves hearing from each and every one of you, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. That was fun. I loved it. I love doing this with you guys every night, man. Sweet dreams. Night, y'all.